Hi guys, this is Chimeze with ThoughtStack. In today's video, we'll be looking at getting started with Lucid. So what is Lucid? Lucid is AdonisJs ORM and it is an implementation of the active record pattern. ORM stands for Object Relational Mapping, which provides a clean way of interacting with relational databases, such as MySQL and Postgres. If you have ever worked with Laravel's Eloquent or Ruby on Rails Active Record, then you have used an ORM. Lucid represents the M in the AdonisJs MVC structure. Since Lucid is an ORM, it makes interacting with relational database easy. It can be used to perform database operations such as insert, update, delete, read, and even database transactions. Also, Lucid can be used to define relationships between database tables without writing a single SQL query. Now let's take a look at what a typical Lucid model looks like. Here, I have a full stack AdonisJs application. What I've only done is set up my database, which uses SQLite, and I've created the database as well. Also, I've installed the SQLite driver. The AdonisJs full stack app comes with a user model by default, which can be found in the app/models directory. So basically, Lucid models are stored as ES6 classes inside the app/models directory, and where each model represents a database table. Take for instance, this user model will represent a user's table in our database. Let's see how to create a model. We can make use of the Adonis make model command to generate a new model. And specify the name we want for our model. We'll be creating a tax model. And if we want to generate a migration for the model, we can use the -m flag. As you can see, this has generated a tax model and the corresponding migration file. Before we start making use of our model, it is worth mentioning that Lucid models employs a convention over configuration approach and does a lot based on certain conventions. Some of these conventions include the database table, which is always the lowercase and plural form of the model name. That is, the database table for our task model will be tasks. We can see this in the migration file that was generated when we created the model. As you can see, another convention that Lucid models use is that the ID column is set as the primary key by default. Of course, we can override these default conventions with our own settings. Take for instance, if we want to name our database table differently, we can define a getter to help us with that. Static get table. Then we return the name we want for the table. Say my tax. Now the task model will make use of my tasks as its table instead of the default tasks table. I'm a fan of convention over configuration, so I tend to stick with the defaults as much as possible. With that said, let's see how we can start to make use of our model. But before we do that, let's update and run our migration. Let's comment this out and use the default. Now open the migration file. We'll add 2 new columns. A name column and an is completed column. Which will have a default value of false. Then let's run our migrations. Adonis migration column 1. With our database migrated, we can start to make use of our model. For the purpose of this tutorial, we'll be making use of AdonisJs built-in command line repo to interact with our database from the command line. We can start a repo section using the Adonis CLI. Now a repo section has been started, and we can write any Node.js code inside it. First, we'll see how to insert data to our database using Lucid. Let's pull in the task model. Use app / models / task. There are two ways of performing database insertion with Lucid. We can either use the save method or the create method. We will see how to use both. We will start with the save method. For this, we'll create an instance of the task model. Then we'll specify the values for our columns. In our case, just the name column, since we specify that the is completed column will be false by default. Now, to persist this to the database, we'll make use of the save method. Await task.save. We've added a new task to our database. Now let's see the other method, that is using the create method. The create method is more of a one-liner, that is await task.create. They will pass in an object which will contain the data we want to insert. Yet another title. A major difference between the save method and the create method is that the save method will only persist to the database, while the create method will persist and return back an instance of the model. Just as you can see, we have added some data to our database. Now let's see how to retrieve this data. To retrieve all the tasks that have been added, we can make use of the all method. Task equals await task dot all. Then we can do task dot to JSON. As you can see, we've only added 2 tasks. Lucid models comes with some static methods which can be used to perform common operations. Take for instance, if we want to retrieve a task by its primary key, we can make use of the find method. Await task dot find. Then we'll pass in the ID of the task. This will always return a single record. As you can see, it returns the task with the ID of 1. Also, we can use the find or fail method, which is similar to the find method, but instead throws a model not found exception when unable to find a record. Or fail. Let's try retrieving a task we know does not exist. Say ID of 3. Find or fail will throw a model not found exception. Assuming we want to retrieve a task by other attributes aside the primary key, we can make use of the find by method. Await task dot find by. The first argument is the column or attribute we want to find by. Let's say name. While the second argument is the actual value. Sample title. I think I used lowercase t. Yeah. So we retrieve a task with the name sample title. Also, we might decide to just return the first task from our database. We can make use of the first method for this. Await task dot first. This will return the first rule in our database. Just like the find method, the find by and the first methods also has find by or fail and first or fail methods respectively. We can also fetch tasks based on some certain conditions, such as retrieving all tasks that has been marked as completed. dot query dot where is completed equals to true. Then fetch. Here we are making use of the query builder methods, which are fully supported by Lucid models. So in the where method, we specify that we want to retrieve all the tasks that has been marked as completed. And lastly, we call the fetch method, which is required so as to get our results. Obviously, we didn't get any record back because none of our tasks has been marked as completed. So if we flip this over and say where completed is false, then we should get back all our data. Now let's see how to update a particular task. First, to retrieve the task we want to update. Now let's mark this task as completed. Completed equals true. Next, let's persist the changes to the database. For that, we'll make use of the save method. We can verify that the task has been updated. As you can see. Now let's see how to delete a particular task from our database. Again, we'll get the task we want to delete. So we want to delete the task with the ID of 2. To delete the task, we simply call the delete method. Await task.delete. Now we should only have just one task in our database. As you can see. So far, we've seen how to perform basic operations with Lucid, such as insert, update, delete, and retrieving data. We will wrap this video here. Then in the next couple of videos, we will look at relationships in Lucid. So see you guys then.